The mechanic's daughter, the smell of motor oil and steel, had been Maya Rodriguez's perfume since childhood. In her father's auto repair shop in the Bronx, grease stains were badges of honor, and the symphony of engines was her lullaby. By age 12, she could diagnose a timing belt problem just by closing her eyes and listening. By 16, her hands could read the health of an engine like a doctor reading a pulse. This was her inheritance, not just a business, but a language spoken in torque and temperature, in the subtle vibrations that meant the difference between a simple fix and an engine rebuild. Mija, her father Carlos would say, his weathered hands guiding hers through the intricate maze of an engine block. Cars are like people. They tell you what's wrong if you know how to listen. In the fluorescent-lit garage that served as both workplace and sanctuary, Carlos Rodriguez had built more than a business. He'd built a reputation as the man who could fix anything with wheels, the mechanic other mechanics came to when they were stumped. But now, at 53, Carlos's hands shook too much to hold a wrench steady. The doctors called it early-onset Parkinson's, as if giving it a name made it any easier to watch her father's strength fade like brake lights in the night. Maya had just turned 22 when the diagnosis came, and college applications were spread across her desk at home. She didn't hesitate. The family business needed her more than she needed a degree. The first few years were manageable. Maya kept the shop running while Carlos handled the paperwork and customer relations. They made a good team, the father who could charm customers with stories of their car's past repairs, and the daughter who could coax even the most stubborn engines back to life. But the world was changing faster than their tools could turn. The wake-up call arrived in a gleaming Tesla Model S, its owner complaining about phantom battery drain and sporadic acceleration issues. Maya approached it like any other car, but this was different. The diagnostic computer spat out error codes that might as well have been hieroglyphics. When she called Tesla support, the quote for official diagnostic software made her stomach turn. It was more than the shop's monthly rent. That night, after closing up, Maya sat in the darkened garage, surrounded by the tools that had always given her confidence. The wrenches and socket sets hung on their boards like retired warriors, useless against this new enemy of encrypted software and proprietary systems. She could feel her father's legacy slipping away, dissolving into a future where traditional mechanics would be as obsolete as carburetors. "I don't know how to fix this, Papa," she whispered into the darkness. "Then learn," came her father's voice from the office doorway. He stood there, leaning on his cane, his silhouette backlit by the streetlights filtering through the grimy windows. "When I came to this country, I didn't know English. I learned. When I bought this shop, I didn't know business. I learned." He shuffled forward, placing a trembling hand on her shoulder. "The tools change, Mija, but the heart of a mechanic stays the same." That night, Maya made a decision that would change not just her life, but the lives of countless other mechanics facing the same crisis. She began with basic programming courses on her laptop, studying during the quiet hours after the shop closed. The transition was brutal. Programming concepts felt alien to her hands-on approach to problem-solving. She'd find herself frustrated, longing for the simplicity of a stuck valve or a blown gasket. But slowly, something clicked. She began to see that programming wasn't so different from what she already knew. Debugging code was like diagnosing an engine. Both required methodical thinking, attention to detail, and the ability to see patterns in chaos. The logic gates and if-then statements weren't so different from the mechanical systems she'd grown up understanding. The real breakthrough came when she discovered Arduino and Raspberry Pi. These small, affordable computers could be programmed to communicate with car systems. Maya threw herself into learning everything she could about automotive protocols and sensor systems. She started small, building a simple OBD2 reader that could translate basic engine codes. Each success gave her confidence to try something more ambitious. Late one night, after weeks of trial and error, she finally cracked the problem that had started it all. Her homemade diagnostic system, cobbled together from off-the-shelf parts and custom code, successfully diagnosed the Tesla's issues. The repair cost the customer a fraction of what the dealership would have charged. Word spread quickly in the tight-knit community of independent mechanics. Soon, other shop owners were coming to her with their own horror stories of computerized cars they couldn't fix. Maya recognized the fear in their eyes. The same fear she'd felt that night with the Tesla. She began offering weekend workshops, teaching other mechanics the basics of automotive software and electronics. The sessions were held in the shop after hours, with Maya projecting code onto the wall, where diagrams of engines used to hang. Her father would sit in the back, watching with quiet pride as his daughter bridged the gap between the world he knew and the one that was coming. "Remember," Maya would tell her students, many of them veterans with decades of experience, "we're not just mechanics anymore. We're translators between two worlds. The car still speaks to us through its sounds and vibrations, but now it speaks in code too. Our job is to understand both languages." The turning point came when Auto Innovation Quarterly ran a feature on their shop. The article, titled "The Future of Fix-It," caught the attention of Autotech, one of the largest aftermarket parts manufacturers in the country. Their CEO showed up unannounced one morning, walking into the shop just as Maya was explaining to a group of mechanics how her latest diagnostic tool worked. The offer they made was tempting: full partnership, mass production of her diagnostic tools, and a national training program. But Maya had one non-negotiable condition: the technology had to remain affordable for independent shops. "Every mechanic deserves a chance to evolve," she insisted. To her surprise, they agreed. 3 years later, Rodriguez Automotive Solutions provides diagnostic tools and training to over 5,000 independent shops across the country. The original shop still operates, now serving as both a working garage and a training center where experienced mechanics come to learn the new language of automotive repair. Carlos still comes in every day, moving slower now, but his eyes bright as he watches his daughter lead training sessions. Sometimes, when the shop is quiet, he'll find Maya in the back, hands deep in an engine while her laptop runs diagnostics nearby. "You know what's funny, Papa?" she said to him recently, wiping her hands on a shop rag. "Everyone talks about how I modernized the business, but that's not really what happened. You always taught me that being a good mechanic was about solving problems and helping people. The tools changed, but the heart of what we do, that's still the same." She paused, looking around the shop where 3 generations of mechanics were now learning side by side. "Cars may run on computers now," she continued, "but they still need people who understand both the heart and the brain of a machine. And more importantly, they need people who remember that under all the software and sensors, we're still in the business of helping people get back on the road." Today, when Maya speaks at industry conferences or trains new mechanics, she always begins with the same message. The future of automotive repair isn't about choosing between the old way and the new way. It's about building bridges between them. Because at the end of the day, whether you're debugging software or rebuilding an engine, the most important tool you'll ever have is the willingness to learn something new while honoring what you already know. The tools on the walls of Rodriguez Automotive are different now. Tablets and laptops share space with wrenches and pneumatic tools. But the heart of the place remains unchanged. It's still a space where problems get solved, where knowledge gets passed down, and where the spirit of innovation meets the wisdom of experience. Just as her father taught her to listen to engines all those years ago, Maya is teaching a new generation to hear the harmony in both mechanical and digital systems, proving that the best traditions don't die, they evolve.